Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Friendship Rewind, where I look back at the entire series My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. I am your host, Alex Inman, and today we will be looking back at the episode Bridle Gossip, written by Amy Keating Rogers. Another excellent Amy-written episode. This one introduces us to another fantastic recurring character, and because we are still just the 9th episode in, has a critically important lesson that is so great for kids to learn. So let's get started with Twilight and Spike walking around a totally deserted Ponyville on what should be a perfectly sunny day. Spike offers his own explanation for why everyone is gone.
Is it zombies?
Not very likely.
Before Pinkie Pie flags them down inside Sugar Cube Corner and beckons them inside. Twilight then sees that her other friends are in Sugar Cube Corner as well, sheltering in place for some reason, along with Applejack's little sister, Apple Bloom. Twilight then asks why everyone is sheltering inside and deserting the town, and they direct her attention outside where there is conveniently a hooded figure right in the middle of the road, lightly digging at the ground. And then even more conveniently, the figure suddenly turns its head toward Twilight and she sees yellow glowing eyes, but also a horse-like nose. Seeing those eyes, everyone except Twilight darts away from the window in fear, while Twilight looks at all of her friends with a disappointed and annoyed look.
Did you see her, Twilight? Did you see Zecora?
Apple Bloom, I told you never to say that name.
And here we are introduced to Michelle Creeber as Apple Bloom. Even though, to be fair, she did have one line in the very first episode.
Aren't you gonna stay for brunch?
She has a much more prominent role in this episode, so I thought this would be a good place to do her introduction. And boy, is she worthy of introduction. Michelle is the daughter of 2 seasoned musicians. Her mom is a vocalist and directs a choir in Vancouver. And her dad is a jazz pianist who co-wrote the song Banana Phone. And that is not a joke. And with that kind of talent as parents, naturally, Michelle got into the performing arts industry very young. On stage, she has played the title role of Annie and Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz at least twice each. She has been on Supernatural, she has been in the Hallmark movie Smart Cookies, and the Disney holiday movie The Search for Santa Paws. And that brings us to Friendship is Magic, which, at the time she recorded the first season, in around 2009, I assume, she was just 10 years old. And I want to point that out now because later on in the season, she is going to exhibit her talents of singing. And I just want to let you know now that she is 10 years old when she's recording this first season. Anyway, back to the show. Apple Bloom is frustrated that Applejack is being so overly protective of her and lying that she got scared once Zecora came into town. And then when Twilight looks out the window again, Zecora removes her hood to reveal that she is a zebra with the classic black and white stripe pattern and a black and white colored mohawk-style mane. Now here is a fun fact. Someone, namely Lauren Faust, the series creator, did her homework because the digging at the ground Zecora is doing is actually accurate for what zebras really do, because they are digging into the ground to get at water, because they usually live out in the African plains where there is not that much water, but there can be water underground. This digging action also works on another level because for horses, A digging motion is a sign of aggression, which would cause horses to start to get fearful, which totally works for the ponies against this zebra. So it all kind of works out, and it shows some really fun research went into making this show. Rarity takes issue with Zecора's stripes, saying that they are, quote,
So garish.
which makes Twilight have to explain to her that she was born with those stripes. And that causes Rarity to faint with disgust. So yeah, there's going to be some big cultural insensitivities happening from all of the main characters in this episode. But it's okay that this insensitivity is happening because it's in the service of learning about different cultures and how other people look. Again, very important things for kids to learn about. Upon asking where Zecora lives, her friends say that she lives in the Everfree Forest, and then we get some interesting new tidbits about the forest.
The plants grow,
Animals care for themselves.
and the clouds move, all on their own.
Which makes this a big reveal that the Everfree Forest is operating kind of like Earth and operating on its own, which is way different than what ponies assume because everything is controlled by ponies, apparently. Apparently, ponies can control nature in Equestria down to even when flowers are allowed to grow. And with that amount of power over nature, naturally, encountering nature that can act all on its own would seem frightening and especially unnatural. The ponies have become so irrationally afraid of Zecora that Pinkie Pie even wrote a very ignorant song about her.
She's an evil enchantress. She does evil dances. And if you look deep in her eyes, she'll put you in trances. Then what will she do? She'll mix up an evil brew. Then she'll gobble you up in a big tasty stew. So watch out!
Wow, catchy.
Now, Twilight is the rational one in this episode, and so she asks her friends for specific examples of Zecora being bad. Of course, her friends can't give good reasons, and so Twilight reacts sarcastically, as you should.
Once a month, she comes into Ponyville.
Ooh.
Then she lurks by the stores. Oh my.
And then she digs at the ground.
Good gracious.
Twilight pretty much tells all her friends that they're being ignorant and making things up instead of just talking to Zecora themselves. And while all the adults continue to discuss all the made-up things they've said about Zecora, Apple Bloom takes the opportunity to go out and follow Zecora into the Everfree Forest and talk to her herself. And I do want to give a quick mention to the African-inspired music that background score composer Will Anderson is doing in this scene. It's really good. She almost makes it before the adults catch up to her and call her back. Interestingly, the adults are sitting in this patch of what looks like blue flowers, which prompts Zecora to give a warning.
Beware! Beware, you pony folk! Those leaves of blue are not a joke!
Applejack puts Apple Bloom on her back, which is important to mention because it's part of the setup for the rest of the episode. And the sound effects want to let you know that the 6 ponies are stepping all over in this patch of blue star-looking flowers, while they yell ignorant things at Zecora, like saying she's going to put a curse on them. Twilight, being the magical scholar, has to explain to them that curses are fake magic done by potions and incantations, compared to real magic done through born skill from within by unicorns. Naturally, her friends don't listen to her, and Applejack even says that Twilight may even be proven right about curses later. The 6 friends all leave the patch of blue flowers and go home for the night. Twilight has a hard time sleeping because she keeps thinking about all of the things that her friends tried to instill fear upon her with, and she wakes up with a messy mane. Upon brushing her mane to its usual style, she comes to discover that her horn now is all floppy like it's not made of bone anymore and has blue spots on it. It is at this point that Twilight actually starts to believe that a curse is real. After going through a whole bunch of books and not finding an answer to her problem, Spike suggests a book whose cover reads Supernaturals. Twilight judges that book to be about spirits and ghosts and stuff and doesn't even open it, which is very unlike her. And then the rest of her friends come into the tree library to share their effects, and they are pretty unusual. Pinkie Pie's tongue has swelled up, making it harder for her to talk, and now mostly spits. Rainbow Dash's wings are now on her body upside down, causing her to crash into everything. Rarity's hair has grown out very long everywhere on her body. Applejack has been shrunken very small and is now about the size of a book. And finally, Fluttershy, at first glance, doesn't seem to have anything wrong with her. However,
I don't want to talk about it.
Fluttershy is now voiced by Blue Mancuma, a character actor who, according to his IMDb page, has 198 acting credits. He just appears in movies and single episodes of TV shows all over the place. Blue also voiced the dragon that decided to take a nap in the mountain outside of Ponyville in the earlier episode Dragonshy. And so, with our crew of cursed ponies, Spike immediately comes up with nicknames for all of them.
Look at all of you! We got Harity, Rainbow Crash, Spitty Pie, Apple Teeny, Flutter Guy, and Toilet Flopple.
Everyone starts arguing in panic about their various ailments, and Twilight repeatedly denies that this is a curse or a hex. Apple Bloom, feeling bad about causing all these problems, goes out again to find Zecora and possibly a way to fix her sister and her friends. And Applejack, being so small, is able to easily keep track of Apple Bloom now by hiding in the hair of her tail, and I don't know how that works. The other ponies follow soon after when they realize they can't find Applejack, and having a quick fear that they may have stepped on or sat on her. Once inside the forest, Applejack reveals herself to Apple Bloom, and Apple Bloom promptly leaves her behind on a tree branch because she is the big sister now and doesn't need to take orders from her. Thankfully, she's not alone for long as Rainbow Dash comes crashing through the tree that she's on, and Applejack is able to make a makeshift set of reins to pilot Rainbow Dash while she flies upside down because her wings are upside down. Twilight, Pinkie, Rarity, and Fluttershy make it to Zecora's hut first, and we see that it is a large hollowed-out tree with a couple tribal masks and potion bottles out front. Then Rarity makes two back-to-back insensitive comments about the exterior decorations as well as the interior when they look through a window.
Oh my, that place really does look horrible. Nice decorations, if you like creepy.
Yeah, it doesn't look good, but it is in service of learning, and it's okay to have moments of insensitivity like this in TV shows if the characters learn something from it at the end. They see Zecora putting some things in a large cauldron, and then Zecora starts speaking in an African dialect of some kind. And this weirdly prompts Pinkie through spitting to say that she stole her song, as in that song that she sang earlier in the episode. And then we get the best moment of the episode, Pinkie Pie's Evil Enchantress song as sung by Fluttershy with her now lower, smoother voice, and accompanying bass line and bongos.
She's an evil enchantress and she does evil dances. And if you look deep in her eyes, she will put you in trances. Then what will she do? She'll mix up an evil brew. Then she'll gobble you up in a big tasty stew. So, watch out.
At this point, Rarity asks Twilight if she now believes that it's a curse. And with the masks, cauldron, and incantations, Twilight seems to almost be there, but she's still holding out.
Or what if Zecora's just making soup?
but then a classic misunderstanding tips Twilight over the edge.
The perfect temperature for ponies, I presume. Now, where is that little apple bloom?
And here we can now be formally introduced to Brenda Critchlow as Zecora. Brenda plays a few other minor characters in the show that I'll bring up as they come about, but Brenda mostly makes her living from acting in Hallmark holiday movies, like those Christmas and Valentine's Day movies. She also has a reputation for playing news reporters in various shows and movies. You may have even seen one of her reporter roles in the first Fantastic Four movie, the Chris Evans one. Now, back to the show, with Zecora now looking for Apple Bloom, Twilight arrives at this perfectly logical, thought-out explanation.
What if she's making apple bloom soup?
In that moment, Rainbow Dash with Applejack on top fly in and crash into Zecora's hut and just start wrecking the place, smashing up all kinds of stuff, including tipping over the cauldron full of brew.
You know not what you do. You've gone and spilled my precious brew.
The other 4 ponies come in with Twilight in the lead and start accusing her of being evil.
I didn't want to believe that you cursed us, but the evidence is overwhelming.
You made me look ridiculous.
You made me sound ridiculous.
You ruined my horn.
Zecora naturally puts everyone in their place.
How dare you? You destroy my home, destroy my work, then rudely accuse me of being a jerk?
If you haven't caught on by now, Zecora's speech is limited to speaking in rhyming couplets, which is a very interesting creative choice, especially on the writing side for whenever Zecora has to be involved. And so, with Twilight angrily demanding to know where Apple Bloom is and literally butting heads with Zecora, Apple Bloom just comes right in the door with a bag full of items that Zecora sent her out to get. And then the 2 of them have a good chuckle in front of Twilight.
Oh, Twilight. Did those silly feelies finally get in your head? You know there's no such thing as a curse.
The 2 of them explain to the 6 ponies that the plant that they stepped in earlier is called Poison Joke, and the weird effects that they've experienced are just jokes made by the plant, a great testament to how unnatural and unpredictable the Everfree Forest can be. And, of course, the cauldron was being made into a cure for the poison joke, derived from a book in Zecora's possession.
But I tried to find a cure in all my books and couldn't find anything. What book has this natural remedy?
Here is the book, you see?
It's the very book that Spike suggested Twilight look in, but Twilight ultimately weirdly decided not to look in at all.
Supernaturals. Natural remedies and cure-alls that are simply super. I'm so sorry, Zecora. I had the answer the whole time, if only I'd bothered to look inside.
And that's just a really genuine, apologetic moment there. I love that sincerity. And then Zecora delivers the episode's message.
Maybe next time you will take a second look and not judge the cover of the book.
A very important and timeless message that has spanned decades and generations, and still needs to be learned even today. Everyone goes back to Ponyville to get one last ingredient that Zecora needs, which causes the usual panic around the town.
How awful! The wicked enchantress has cursed them all! The horror! The horror!
And then they all go to the spa where they bathe in the cure. And that's the episode. A little more information about Zecora. She was originally intended to have a much greater role as more of a shaman mentor to Twilight, but that idea was scrapped, as you can see throughout the show. Though, considering she is the only zebra we ever see in the show, it would feel a little culturally insensitive to have the token African-like character giving wisdom and advice to the other ponies. However, the IDW My Little Pony comic series has remedied this, and in the Season 10 comic series, which is going on now, the very first episode is about Zecora and a group of other friends going back to her homeland, which is really great. I mean, it took a while to get to there, but it's great that it eventually happened. But looking back on Bridle Gossip specifically, I kind of forgot that Zecora spoke in that dialect. I completely forgot about that. Otherwise, I love Flutter Guy. That's such a really funny idea, and the message is, of course, timeless and very important for kids. So that's what I thought about the episode, and of course I would love to hear what you think about the episode. You can tweet at me at InmanAlex, INMANALEX. Please leave comments and reviews on whatever platform you're listening on. I do read them whenever I get the chance. As a reminder, you can listen to the Friendship Rewind on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Anchor, and every other major podcast platform. Next week is going to be a really, really fun episode, so I hope you join me with that. Happy Hanukkah to all of my Jewish listeners, and thank you all, everyone, for listening to the Friendship Rewind. I'll see you next week. Twilight, Rarity, and Pinky make it... No, Fluttershy's there too. Sorry, Fluttershy.